All right, we're here at my tiny worm bin, and it has been 18 days since we were in here last, the longest I have ever gone without feeding this bin. So let's go ahead and look and see how they are doing. Now, this paper has been totally eaten. I mean, that's all that's left, so the bin critters are probably just going to whatever food scraps are left, and that may have been something that was on the top. But last time we were in here, we did the frozen versus banana kind of results, and most of the banana was gone, but there was still just a little bit left. And then we put in a bunch of fast food. So I don't expect to see any food scraps that we can really tell what they were. But we're going to put an interesting bedding choice in here, and we'll get to that when we feed it. But oh yeah, I do see a piece of corn, and I remember from about 3 feedings ago, we put in these corn cobs. So this is very hard. The cob part of it, I'll break it open, see if they're not even inside. Well, there's one inside of it, but really not too many inside of it because I think they've already eaten that out. So the corn is odd. It kind of goes through a phase. They'll eat a bunch of the kernels off and the inside, and then the rest, I think they kind of let the microbes get to it and break it down, maybe let it get more moist before they can really do anything with it. And there's another one inside there. So we'll put that back in the feeding zone. But if you notice from now compared to when we were in here last, there's just so many more castings. And this bin itself is 91 days, and I'm actually feeling a lot more moisture. So I think we're going to take that plastic off. It has done its job. And sure enough, you know what? I am seeing something. This is the skin of maybe a small pepper or a small tomato in there. So I guess that really takes a long time. But I don't really expect to see anything recognizable as far as like a banana, maybe the stalk in there. But let's look at the corners. And something I'm going to do, it's been forever since I was in here, and I kind of have an excuse for that. One, the executive producer went on strike until I got the Christmas decorations down. And then I finally got those down, but then I burned my hand right here. You might be able to see like a little blister I still have on there from burning it with oil. So I do have a little bit of an excuse for why it's taken so long. But I took out some pumpkin from the freezer to feed them, and then I let it thaw out, and then I burned my hand. So it's been sitting out for a while. That's going to go in here. And then we're going to put in some green beans. But the bedding is what I really want to show you, and that is going to be interesting. So let me mix this around, and then we'll get to that. Yeah, so as I'm digging through here, there's just worms all throughout. No worm balls surrounding food because they've eaten it all, but just tons of worms all throughout here. And we started with 1,008 worms when we restarted this bin. I've actually done this bin, I think, 4 times. Each time we restart it with just shredded paper and a little bit of food scraps and build it up to it's all castings. So this is the 3-month mark for this bin, 91 days. So this is looking really good. It is mostly castings, some really big pieces of shredded cardboard, that kind of thing. So it's not like I could just harvest this, and it's really moist, so it wouldn't harvest very well. But it's really turned the tide where you can see the worms really well because they're contrasting against the castings, and we just have, those pieces of cardboard. So let me get the bedding that we're gonna put in this bin. So my youngest son just turned 18. We had a surprise birthday party for him. So we're gonna put in a napkin with kind of this interesting ink or whatever on it. It's not like glittery or anything, but I just wanna see how the worms do with that. And then this stuff, crêpe paper. I don't know if you guys, oh, there's a worm on it right there. I don't know if you all have used it before, but crêpe paper is odd. When I was a kid, I would lick it and it was sour. So I don't know if any of you have ever licked crêpe paper. I bet you it's about 50-50 with that. So this is the bedding we're going to use. All right, so we'll just kind of crumple this up and we'll put that right down there for them. And then maybe we'll put the corn cobs that we found here and some of this top newspaper in there. And then I just pulled some of the crêpe paper off, and I'm just going to put it right here in the center so when we dig down, we know that is where it was. So I don't know if whatever makes it taste sour will be off-putting to them, or maybe they'll be attracted to it. Certainly they probably don't taste sour like we do, but we'll see how that goes. And then here's that pumpkin we're going to put in. I don't think we're going to put it all in, but we'll put some good pieces in. So there we go. We'll put that right in the center right there so the juices kind of drip down. And maybe one more piece right over here. And then next, my mom gave me some green beans. So we'll just throw those, a little bit of those right on top there. Now, this is a pretty substantial feeding for 1,000 worms. So if you only have 500 or you have 1,000 with a population that's kind of newly established and may not have as many microbes, I would go at least half, maybe even a quarter of this, and then make sure you check it in a week to see how they're doing with it. But pumpkin is a pretty fast food. Whoops, I just got the signal from the executive producer that I forgot something. So I forgot the amendment, so we'll add some worm chow in here. But anyway, pumpkin is a pretty fast food, so I expect this to go pretty quick. I'm not sure about green beans, so let me know how green beans do in your bins, if they're kind of a fast food or a slow food for you. Next, we'll add in a little bit of coffee grounds, used coffee grounds here, just from our morning coffee. And then finally, we'll add some pulverized eggshells, grit for their gizzards, and also calcium for my garden, and helps to buffer a bin that's too acidic or too alkaline. So we'll go ahead and cover up, and we'll add this newspaper from the top. And I always make sure that I cover up my food scraps whenever I add to my bin, even though this one has a lid. It has fairly big holes here, so they get some good airflow, but I don't want to attract any kind of critters, be it insects or anything else, into my bins. This is an indoor worm bin. I've got an outdoor worm bin. It's a 20-gallon fabric pot worm bin with about 4,000 worms in it. And then I have a worm tower, a Vermi-Hut worm tower, that has 6,000 worms. It is also an indoor worm bin. But I am hoping that for Christmas, I might get another worm bin. That is all up to the executive producer, but that would be awesome. So there we go. I am going to do a little bit of a top feeding just with the worm chow that I use here, which is just expired grains from my pantry that I grind up in my Magic Bullet blender. And then since we're not going to do plastic, I'm just going to put this piece of newspaper on here that will help retain a little bit of moisture, but also kind of give them a light barrier, as well as allow me to lift something up to see how they're doing right underneath it. Otherwise, they may not come right to the surface. So I will take this and clean this off and make sure there's no tiny worms in here. Actually gives me a good idea. I'm going to put this right under here as a kind of food scrap type top feeding. I love to see them come in here, and I'll lift it up and there'll be all kinds of worms in there. So that will about do it. I hope you're all having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing well. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.